Mrs. John Hutchins.
Mrs. John Hutchins, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I does.
What is your name?
Mrs. John Joseph Hutchins.
And your occupation?
I ain't got no occupation, sir. I's just the wife of my husband.
Then what does your husband do?
He's the night janitor at the Faulkner building, sir.
Mrs. Hutchins, did Mr. Faulkner own business offices in the Faulkner building?
Yes, sir.
And did he own the penthouse at the roof of the building?
Yes, sir.
Who lived there?
Mr. Faulkner did. That is before he got married.
And after his marriage?
After his marriage, Miss Andre lived there all by herself.
Did you ever see Mr. Faulkner calling on Miss Andre after his marriage?
Yes, sir, one time.
And when was that?
On the night of January 16th.
Tell us about it.
Well, it was about 10:30.
Just a moment. How do you know the time?
My husband always goes to work every night at 10 o'clock, but on that night I works for him.
Why didn't your husband work that night?
Well, for the last year or two now, my husband don't seem to have no more gumption, and when he don't, I takes his place.
I see. So on the night of January the 16th, your husband was low on gumption.
Yes, it was about 30 minutes after I goes to work that the doorbell at the private entrance one. I went there and I opened the door. It was Miss Andre and Mr. Faulkner was with her. I was surprised because Miss Andre has her own key and most times she opens the door herself.
Was she alone with Mr. Faulkner?
No, sir. There was two other gentlemen with them.
And who were they?
I don't know, sir.
Had you ever seen them before?
No, sir, never.
Well then, what did they look like?
They was tall and sort of slender, both of them. One of them had his hair all cooked over his eyes and his coat collar turned up. He'd been drinking.
How do you know?
Well, Mr. Faulkner and the other gentleman had to help him into the elevator. His feet was so loose.
Did Mr. Faulkner look worried?
No, sir, he seemed powerfully happy.
Did he look like a man who was contemplating self-destruction?
Which?
I mean, did he look as if he would kill himself?
Nope, sir, unless he died of laughing.
Objection, Your Honor. Sustained.
Now what I gonna done?
Nothing at all, just answer the questions. Did the others in the party seem happy as well?
Yes, sir, they was all laughing when they went up into the elevator, excepting the drunk one.
Did you see any of them leave that night?
Yes, sir, the first one left about 15 minutes later.
And who was that?
The drunk one, he came down the elevator all by himself. He didn't seem quite so drunk no more. He could walk, but he staggered a little bit. He still kept his hat pulled down over his face. I wanted to help him to the door, seeing the condition he was in, but he noticed me coming and he hurried out.
Did you see where he went?
Yes, sir, he got into a gray coupe, parked right out at the entrance, and drove away fast, but the cops must have got him.
What makes you think that?
Well, I noticed a car that started
What car?
The defendant will please keep quiet.
If Miss Andre will allow me to do the questioning, I may satisfy her curiosity. I was just going to ask, what car, Mrs. Hutchins?
It was a big black one, a sedan, I reckon. It was parked 2 cars away from the first one.
How many were in it?
I saw it's just one man.
Now, what makes you think it was following the first car?
Well, I couldn't be sure he was, sir. It just looked funny they stopped them together like that.
Did you see the other guest of Miss Andre's leaving that night?
Yes, sir. He came down about 10 minutes later.
And what did he do?
Nothing much. He seemed to be in a hurry, so he went right out.
And that left Miss Andre and Mr. Faulkner in the penthouse alone.
Yes, sir.
And then,
Well, I went on about my work. It must have been about an hour later when I heard screams outside in the street. Then I saw Miss Andre running out of the private entrance, her gown all torn, sobbing wild like. I run after her. We pushed through the crowd outside, and there was Mr. Faulkner lying on the sidewalk, all mashed to pieces.
What did Miss Andre do?
She just screamed and fell on her knees.
That is all, Mrs.
No, sir, that ain't all. There's more.
More. More what?
Well, just then, some other people came running up and tried to tell the policeman something.
And what did they say?
I don't know, sir.
You don't know.
No, sir.
Well, what else?
Well, the policeman took them all up into the penthouse.
Did you go with them to the penthouse?
No, sir, just outside after them, they shut the door.
Well, then you don't really know anything else, do you?
Well, no, son. Now that I come to think of it, I suspect I don't.
That is all, Mrs. Hutchins.
No, just a moment, Mrs. Hutchins. Now, you had said that you had never seen Faulkner calling on Miss Andre after his wedding, with the exception of that one night. Now tell me, do you see every visitor who goes up to the penthouse every night?
No, sir. If the guest has a key to the penthouse entrance, he could come in and I wouldn't see him.
So, in other words, Faulkner could have called on Miss Andre any number of times, and you never would have seen him come in.
No, sir, 'cause I don't spy on people. Whatever they does, I leaves it at that.
That is all, Mrs. Hutchins.
You may leave the chair now.
Oh, yes, sir.
Homer Van Fleet!
Homer Van Fleet, do you solemnly swear
I
to
do.
What is your name
Homer Hubert Van Fleet.
and your occupation?
Private. Investigator.
What was your last assignment?
Shadowing Mr. Bjorn Folk.
By whom were you hired to do it?
This is Bjorn Folk.
Were you shadowing Mr. Falk on the night of January the 16th?
I was.
Tell us about it.
Well, I start at 6:13 p.m. Mr. Faulkner leaves his home in Long Island. Drives roadster, himself, alone. Unusual speed all the way to New York.
Where does Mr. Faulkner go?
Well, he drives up to the Faulkner building and go in. I wait outside in my car, of course. 9:35 p.m., Mr. Faulkner and Miss Andre exit the building. Miss Andre is wearing a corsage of organs, unusual proportions.
Where did they go?
Well, no one's perfect in this world, right?
What do you mean?
I lost them.
What?
Due to Mr. Faulkner's unusual speed and the accident.
What accident?
I left fender into the rear of that truck. But the damages to which paid by Mrs. Bjorn Faulkner, so.
Well, what did you do after you lost track?
Well, I returned to the Faulkner building and waited.
And when did they return?
Nope. 10:30 p.m. exactly. They are followed by a gray coupe. Mr. Faulkner helps Miss Andre out of the vehicle. And let's see, while Miss Andre is ringing for the bell, Mr. Faulkner opens the door to the gray coupe. A handsome gentleman in formal clothes steps out. They then proceed to help out a third gentleman, the latter wearing a gray overcoat. And this man shows clear signs of well, he's drunk.
And then what did you do?
Well, I went over to Gary's grill. Well, allow me to explain myself. I must allow myself time for nourishment every 4 hours while I'm on duty. I then sit by the window and watch the Faulkner building.
And what did you observe?
Nothing. For about 15 minutes. Then the man in the gray overcoat, the tipsy one, right? he gets into the car, the gray coupe, and drives away south.
And did you see the other stranger leave?
The handsome gentleman? Yes. Yes. 15 minutes later, gets into a car parked near the curb, drives away south as well.
Had you ever seen Mr. Faulkner with either of these two men before?
No, first time I've ever seen him.
And what did you do then?
Well, Mr. Faulkner and Miss Andre are now alone in the penthouse. And I'm curious. Professionally, of course. So I head up to the nightclub on the roof of the Brooks building. There's a gallery off the dining room where you can go out and see the Faulkner building as clear as day. And so I go out.
And then what?
I look.
And then what?
I yell.
What did you see?
No lights. Karen Andre's white gown shimmering in the moonlight. A man in evening clothes leaning against the parapet, Mr. Faulkner. And then she pushes him, and he goes down, down, into space.
And then what did you do?
Well, I head back into the Faulkner building, no, the Brooks building, and yell about what I've seen. A crowd follows me to the base of the Faulkner building, and there we find a bloody mess on the pavement. And Miss Andre sobbing over it, fit to kill. No witness.
Mr. Van Fleet, can you tell us the date of when you first started in the employ of Mrs. Faulkner?
October 13th last.
And would you remind the court of the date of Mr. and Mrs. Faulkner's wedding?
October 12th, the day before.
Exactly, just the day before. So, in other words, Mrs. Faulkner hired you to spy on her husband the day after their wedding?
So it seems.
What were Mrs. Faulkner's instructions to you?
To observe Mr. Faulkner and report in detail.
And did you ever notice Mr. Faulkner calling on Miss Andre after the wedding?
Well, I don't know. Mr. Faulkner went to the Faulkner building daily. He may have gone to his office, or he may have gone up to the penthouse. Or Miss Andre may have came down to his office. I don't know what's customary.
And did you report that to Mrs. Faulkner?
I did.
Did she seem worried?
I don't believe so. Mr. Faulkner was always the most devoted of husbands and loved his wife dearly.
And just how do you know that?
Why, those are her own words.
Now, Mr. Van Fleet, would you kindly tell us the time you first started up to the balcony atop the Brooks building on the night of January the 16th?
10:32 p.m.
According to your testimony, it would have been 11:32.
11:32, yes.
And how long a walk is it from the Brooks building to the Faulkner building?
3 minutes.
And what time did you arrive on the balcony of the club?
11:57.
So it took you exactly 25 minutes to get through that nightclub? What were you doing the rest of the time, Mr. Van Fleet?
Well, they have dancing, and other things at the club.
Did you partake of these other things?
Well, I had a couple of drinks, if I understand the drift of your curiosity, but you can't say I was intoxicated.
I've said nothing of the kind, as yet. Now, you saw Miss Andre pushing Mr. Faulkner off the penthouse, and it was a little ways away. In the darkness, And you were...
Well, let's just say he had a couple of.
Now, the drinks had nothing to do with
Are
it.
you quite sure that she had been pushing it? Couldn't she have been struggling with it?
Well, it's a funny way of struggling.
Mr. Van Fleet, what were Mrs. Faulkner's instructions to you before you came here to testify?
Mrs. Faulkner has not been here to instruct me. As everybody knows, Mrs. Faulkner and her father disappeared shortly after Mr. Faulkner's death and have not been heard from since.
Well, have you heard from them since?
I have no record of it.
Mr. Van Fleet, would you kindly tell the court just how much an eyewitness to Mr. Faulkner's murder would be worth?
Your Honor, we object!
Objection sustained.
Exception. That is all, Mr. Van Fleet.
Just a moment.
Yes, Mr. What kind of a car do you drive, Mr. Van Fleet?
Oh, brown coupe, it's old but serviceable.
Did you see another car following the man in the gray overcoat as you took off, Mr. Van Fleet?
I don't recall. Traffic was quite heavy that evening.
That is all, Mr. Van Fleet.
Wait.
Elmer Sweeney!
Elmer Sweeney, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What is your name?
Elmer Sweeney.
And your occupation?
Policeman, been in the force just about a year, and over that time I've
Yes, on the night of
17
January the 16th, were you at the scene of Mr. Faulkner's death?
Yes, I was. I just arrived.
Yes, and well, did you question Miss Andre?
Not at first. That fellow Van Fleet ran up to me and yelled how he had seen Karen Andre push Mr. Faulkner off the roof.
And how did Miss Andre react to that?
She started laughing. I thought she went crazy.
Well, what did you do then?
I took her up with us in the elevator to examine the penthouse.
Did you find anything unusual?
I say I did. Out on the rooftop, I felt like I was in the country. There was a lake, and trees, and grass. Trees as big as round as that. And a sandy beach. Just like Coney Island.
Yes. What was the first thing you did?
Oh, well, I turned the shower on.
Why did you do that?
Well, I heard that when Mr. Faulkner lived there, that he bathed in wine, and I wanted to see if it was true.
Is it true?
If it was, the service would be discontinued.
Yes. Did you question, did you find anything connected with Mr. Faulkner's death?
Oh, that! Yes, I found a note in the drawing room. I saw it the moment I went in.
Where was it?
Propped up on the center table.
Mr.
Flint!
Faulkner! Your Honor, this is a witness I've been trying to locate.
Very well.
We've searched everywhere for you, Mrs. Faulkner.
I went to California for a quiet rest, but I saw in the papers you wanted to call me as a witness, and I hurried back. Father brought me here by airplane. I want to do my duty toward the memory of my husband.
Mr. Flint, whatever we can do to assist, we are at your disposal.
I can only express my deepest appreciation. Now, if you'll both kindly take seats, I will be with you in just a moment. No. Sit in this chair.
Your Honor, we object. This is an attempt to influence the jury, a trick to make them face Faulkner's widow throughout the trial.
Your Honor, the defense counsel has no right to dictate where I seat my witnesses.
Silence! I shall allow it. Objection overruled.
Now, a moment ago you said you found a letter.
Yes, in the drawing room.
Is this the letter that you found?
The very same. Where'd you get that?
Please read it to the jury.
If any future historian wants to record my last advice to humanity, I'll say that I found only two valuable things on this earth. My whip over the world and Karen Andre. To those who can use it, the advice is worth what it has cost mankind. Bjorn Faulkner.
Submitted as evidence.
Exhibit A.
Was that all you found?
I should say not. Out on the roof garden, I found a gun. It was about this long, and it was black.
I'm now going to show you a .32 caliber pistol. Is this the gun that you found?
Yes, that's it. You got a hold of that too?
Submitted as evidence.
Exhibit B.
Where was this gun?
It was under a chair, and I always watch out for fingerprints, and so I picked it up with a handkerchief. And it smelled freshly of powder, which meant it had just been fired.
Did you ask Miss Andre whose gun it was?
Yes, sir, I did. She said it was hers.
Hers. And how did she explain the fact that it had been fired?
She said that Faulkner had been upset, and they wrote the letter and put it in the drawing room and told her not to touch it. And then he reached for the gun in the top drawer, and then she struggled with him. Yeah, she struggled with him to make sure he didn't shoot himself or anything. And then the gun went off.
She said that the gun was in Faulkner's
Yeah.
hand when it went off.
Yes, sir, she did.
Was she positive about that?
She said it 3 times.
Did you examine the gun for fingerprints?
Yes, sir, at headquarters. Here are the photographs.
Were the police able to identify them?
Yes, sir, they were exactly like these.
And whose are these?
Karen Andres.
Did the gun show any fingerprints other than Karen Andre's?
Not a one.
Submitted as evidence.
Accepted as exhibits C and D.
Now, after the gun went off in Faulkner's hand, what happened next, according to Miss Andre?
She said that Faulkner yelled that she couldn't stop him, threw the gun down, and then leaped off the roof.
Did you ask her who had been with them that night?
Yes, I did. She said that 2 gentlemen had, and that she had never met them before until that night when she ate dinner with Faulkner.
She said she had never seen these men before.
Yes, sir. You couldn't shake her.
She was very emphatic about it.
Yes, sir.
That is all.
Now, Mr. Sweeney, you had said that Miss Andre had struggled with Faulkner while trying to prevent his suicide. Did you notice any evidence of the struggle in her clothes?
Yes, sir. Her dress was torn. It had diamond straps, and one of them was broken, so she had to hold it up with one hand. I was so embarrassed.
That is all, Mr.